So as a big fan of physician wellness, it's my honor tonight, and I'm very excited to introduce our first plenary speaker, who's Dr. Barry Kerzin. He'll be speaking on a global vision for medicine, balancing the body and the mind. Dr. Kerzin is a family physician. He's a faculty member at various medical schools throughout the entire world. He gives many presentations internationally and in our nation, and has included such things as grand rounds at Stanford School of Medicine and the White Coat Ceremony at the University of Louisville School of Medicine. I was careful to pronounce that right. He provides primary care in an underserved area in northern India, and he has been the personal physician of His Holiness the Dalai Lama for the past 20 years. As a Tibetan monk, he incorporated some of his Eastern philosophy along with his medical practice to form the Altruism in Medicine Institute. And this very morning, he facilitated a healthcare executive retreat here in Pittsburgh. It brought together leaders from both the main health systems and some others in Pittsburgh and beyond. So I figure, and it was Highmark or Allegheny Health Network, I guess they're called, and UPMC in the same room at peace, so he must be very good at what he does. Anyway, please let's help me in extending a very warm FMEC welcome to Dr. Barry Kerzin.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's a great way to start my day.
So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here. Yesterday was my first day in Pittsburgh in my whole life, and it's just been getting better and better. You know, I met with some of the UPMC health plan people. We had a lunch, and I thought this is going to be really boring. You know, a bunch of kind of sort of leadership people and people that have, you know, advanced degrees in economics and finance. Actually, it was an incredible group of people, and there were a lot of physicians there, chairs of departments, et cetera. In fact, Jeanette was there, chair, I believe, of the family practice residency program. And today, this morning, we had a group of people that, I mean, I guess bliss is ignorance, because, you know, I didn't know these warring factions. I'd been told there are going to be people from opposite healthcare systems, and, you know, in every community there's lots of competition, and there's sometimes even warfare. But we didn't go there, you know. We didn't talk about that stuff. What we talked about is what I'm going to talk about tonight, balancing the body and the mind. So this is more of an inward journey on how we can at least partially navigate these turbulent waters that are happening in healthcare today in America. So what contributes to disease and robs us of our natural human flourishing? So I'd like to make a point here. One of the cracks in the healthcare system is that our goal is to bring people back to normal, okay? To get rid of disease, pain and disease. And my contention, and a lot of other people's contention, is that's not enough, you know? And what we need to be beginning to think about and doing is trying to bring people beyond so-called normalcy to a state of human flourishing, happiness, true well-being. So often when we greet people, we say, "Hi, how are you?" And we usually smile. I mean, I guess if you're in New York City, maybe you don't smile, but in most places you smile and you say, "I'm good." Yeah? Or if we know a little bit of English, sometimes we say, "I'm fine." Right? And yet, even with a smile on our face, what do we mean? So I'm not going to read all this because you can see it. But maybe we're feeling confused, betrayed, useless, broken, anxious, fragile. I'm falling apart, you don't even notice it. Lonely, etc. Whoops, that's kind of, there we go. Often we're in the mindset of being critical, sarcastic, cynical. And this is often applied to ourselves. There are very few people here, I think, that don't have problems with, you know, that have problems with insecurity, that don't have problems with feeling insecure. Okay? We feel that because we've been trained to be perfect. We've been trained that we can't fail. And yet, nature is such that people do get sick. Many of them don't get better, and at some point everybody's going to die. Okay? And so we don't get trained in that kind of stuff, and so we often don't feel comfortable when a person's not getting better, and particularly, you know, when the doctor says, I have nothing more to offer. So this is an area that I try to help young physicians and older physicians kind of paradigm shift here. That's actually when we're needed the most. Okay? And to feel good about that, participating in that last, almost sacred time in the person's life with their family. And so just to show up, people say, well, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just be there, non-judgmental, listening, quietly, just be there. It means a tremendous amount to the patient and to the family. I won't ask for a raise of hands, but I suspect there's probably nobody here that doesn't feel guilty, okay, some of the time, okay? This is something that we probably brought along as baggage from our youth, okay? It's not very functional. When I ask people, you know, do you feel good, do you like getting guilty, people often always say no. And yet we continually feel guilty. At the end of the day, if we do 10 things, and we don't do 10 things, we do 10,000 things. Yeah, and if we did 10 things and we go, and 8 or 9 we feel good about, 1 or 2 we feel, I wouldn't do that the same next time. We go home, what do we think about? It's the 1 or 2, isn't it? We forget about the other 8 and 9, okay? So I suggest that we be more realistic and remember the whole gamut and feel good about the things that went well. Not feeling arrogant, putting others down, but to feel good. That's okay to do. We need more of that. And I'm sure there's nobody here, or in a group of 800, maybe 1 or 2, that would raise their hand if I said, anybody, you know, never get angry? Probably nobody would raise their hand. We all get angry. And yet when I ask people, do you like getting angry? The response is overwhelmingly, no, I don't like getting angry. So what can we do about it? So if we could learn how to recognize anger early, then we can intervene. Once we're at this state, you know, we can't do much. Maybe tell ourselves not next time. Okay. So what are the early signs? You all know what they are because you all have them. You know, the heart starts going a little bit fast, we breathe a little fast, feel irritable, okay? Feel off, don't feel well. We know we're with a person or a situation or both that in the past has precipitated anger, okay? So recognize these things and have a little red flag go off when you feel that you may be getting angry, okay? And then one technique, there are many, but one technique is to recognize the other person. If you're getting angry with somebody else, they're not happy, because happy people don't provoke, okay? So you can then think, why aren't they happy? Relationship issues, health issues, financial issues. So I go through that little litany, and in doing that, in less than a minute, what happens is that incipient anger has nowhere to grow. That incipient anger is narcissistic. It needs the limelight, the spotlight. And when you don't give it the attention, it withers, it goes away. It won't happen the first time you do this, but if you repeat this exercise a number of times, you'll begin to find that your anger will calm down. Less frequent, less intense. Jealousy. We have choices here. I can't tell all my stories. We don't have enough time, but okay, very quickly. There's a humming sound of a car that stops in front of the house. The neighbor opens the blinds, sees this beautiful red convertible Ferrari, slams the blinds and says, shouldn't have been hers, should have been mine, right? Goes to eat, no appetite, goes to bed, can't sleep, okay? Scenario number 2, same thing, next neighbor opens the blinds. Oh, wow, she is so incredibly lucky. I'm so happy for her. What an incredible, beautiful car. Goes next door, knocks on the door, and says, what a gorgeous car. I'm so happy for you. She says, come on in. I was just going for a drive, a spin. What's the main avenue here in Pittsburgh, right nearby? Liberty? Liberty Avenue, Street Avenue, So I'm just going to go down Liberty Avenue. It's a day like today, sunny, beautiful, top down, slow, everybody can see, right? And then she pulls the car over and says, would you like to drive? And he can hardly control his excitement. And he drives slowly down Liberty Avenue, right? Goes home, has a wonderful meal, enjoys it, goes to sleep, sleeps like a baby, wakes up with a smile. Okay, so we can substitute appreciation for jealousy. The problem with jealousy is it's often under the radar. We don't notice it. We get jealous all the time, and we rarely notice it. But what we notice is we don't feel well. We feel a little constricted, closed. So turn inward, look sometimes. When you start feeling jealous, switch it, swap it for appreciation. The other person will feel great. You'll feel much better. Arrogance is a trap. Feeling better than others is a trap. What happens? You lose all your good friends. Nobody likes to be put down. Okay, and feeling arrogant, you're putting everybody else down. You feel you're the best. It's a trap. It's a prison of loneliness. So if you recognize you're doing this, get yourself out of there. Try to reduce your ego. Try to develop more humility. Recognize that, okay, maybe you're smarter and more beautiful than a few people, but not with everybody. Okay, let me see if I can read this with you. This got all funny. It was made on a Mac. And research in meditation, compassion, stress, neuroscience, immunology, endocrinology, and epigenetics demonstrate that harmful emotions promote disease. So a few people before me have been talking about that our model isn't complete, that things that are out there in the community, including in people's lives, emotions, often are, at least if not causing, they're helping, to cause disease. And actually a lot of modern, approaches to medicine are now recognizing this, paying much more attention. So, hence, we must balance our body and our mind, that is, our emotions. And we also must take care of each other because we're interconnected. We're so intricately interconnected in many ways that we don't know, that if we don't take care of others, we're not taking care of ourselves. Empathy is feeling like the other person's feeling, stepping into their shoes. But empathy, though it's good, it opens us up, it makes us sensitive, has considerable limitations. Empathy can lead to burnout. Because if we keep adopting all this pain that all of our patients and maybe colleagues are having, okay, we end up becoming overwhelmed and we get burned out. More alcohol, drugs, relationships break apart. Even suicide is higher among our group, physicians, than the general population. So what can we do about that? You all know this. Moving beyond empathy to compassion, which is feeling good about helping, though it's tinged with some sadness, because we are, obviously, the people we're working with are in pain. But we're not adopting that pain. So this is a shift. And there are many levels of compassion that basically have to do with how much do we need in return. Okay? So we usually kind of need a smile or a thank you. If we don't get it, we feel something's a little bit awry. It's like, I'll love you if you love me, right? So when we begin to recognize that we're all the same in wanting to be happy and not to hurt, and we start operating on that notion, then we need less and less in return. So ego and compassion are inversely related, like a teeter-totter. So when ego goes down, compassion goes up. So it's important that we work on our egos, not to put ourselves down and to increase insecurity, not that at all, but to not feel that we're better than others, that we're actually partnering. So we're shifting our focus away from me, from I, and iPhone. I do a lot of teaching in Hong Kong. I'm an honorary professor there. I teach in the medical school. And I have a TA, okay? My TA is much more educated than me. He comes from central China, and Junling Gao. And he's a cardiologist. He's also board trained and certified in neurology, doing a lot of brain research with this stuff about compassion and meditation and these things. And somehow he got assigned as my TA. I don't know, I'm always embarrassed. But he and I made this slide together. So thank you, Junling. On a deeper level, okay, I said this, we're all the same. We all want to be happy and none of us want to hurt. I'm trying to move a little bit quickly because I thought I had more time than we do, so I want to be respectful of the time issues here. So healthy self-confidence is really where we want to be. It's putting nobody down, okay? We almost always are putting somebody down, and usually we're the recipients of we put ourselves down a lot. If we don't do that, we put others down. We do a lot of putting down. So healthy self-confidence is putting nobody down, putting not myself nor others down. So I do a lot of work in adolescent prisons in Japan. And this is the primary thing I try to teach them. And some of them get it, some of them, of course, don't. And most of them are incarcerated for non-violent crimes. Being in the wrong place, around what they call the Yakuza, which is like the mafia, or maybe prostitution, maybe drugs, non-violent kind of stuff. They shouldn't be incarcerated, okay? So I try to teach, and they have very poor self-images. They won't tell you. They come off macho, and the women sometimes more macho than the men, young men, okay? They come off real macho, but inside, they're very, very insecure. I try to teach them this healthy self-confidence. So everything we're talking about is turning inward to try to get a little bit more acquainted with our inner life, okay? It's just looking in. What am I thinking now? What am I feeling now? What's my mood now? What are the sensations in my body now? Okay? And doing that every so often to kind of check, what's happening and make some changes if we find negative stuff. That takes courage. So I sometimes call that the work of the samurai spiritual warrior. The samurai tradition in Japan was brutal. I mean, really brutal. These were tough, tough warriors a few hundred years ago. So I bring it into this inner world of, if you will, spirituality. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about humanism, okay? About being good people. And with that toughness, to be courageous and look at our stuff, not shy away from it, okay? And work with it. Turning inward. Okay, this is going on in a lot of places, including Louisville, Kentucky. I was just there a few months ago. Greg Fisher's the mayor, wonderful man. He's behind this stuff in school. Compassion education, nonviolent conflict resolution, sharing, a little bit of meditation. They don't even sometimes call it meditation, sitting quietly, kind of balancing, getting calm. This is happening. So in Louisville, last year they had 17 schools doing this, mandatorily, kindergarten up. And now they have 25. In Jalisco, Mexico, his name I just blocked on, Hector Escamillo, who's the governor of Jalisco. I met him a few months ago at another conference in Dallas. He's really gung-ho about educating the kids to this stuff, compassion-based education. They've got, last year, 51,000 students enrolled, this year 80,000. This is happening all over the world, and in many places in America. So I'm going to say a few words about meditation. I've got a few minutes left, more than a few. What is meditation? So firstly, it's a training. Just like when, how many of you guys are athletes or have been athletes? Raise your hands. Probably half, 2/3 of you guys. A lot of hands. Can you do it without training almost every day? Of course not. You got to go out there 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and you got to train, okay? If you want to do any kind of athletic stuff with your body. Training your mind is the same way. It requires repetitive training, okay? The gym of our mind is kind of cool because it's open 24 hours a day. It's not even closed for Christmas, okay? And there's no membership fee, And there's no fees for, walking in, okay? And it's confidential, okay? So it's a great place to exercise your mind, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts. Wholesome, you know what that is. The mind here means it's a broad, inclusive notion of mind. Thoughts, feelings, well, we normally would say, here and here, kind of. Heart stuff, too. It's feelings, emotions, it's all that stuff. And thoughts, intuitions, all that stuff. Stability and clarity are a little more technical terms. So meditation often, does train us to be more focused. The opposite is distraction. Anybody here ever suffer from distraction? Yeah, I didn't see many hands, but I know you all do. Okay. So it balances that. It keeps us focused on something wholesome. Okay. And that's very good for decision making because it develops less clutter in our minds. We have more clarity. We make better decisions. And that's why leadership in the financial fields, in professional athletics, in education, leaders are turning to this stuff because they're finding through their own experience that they can actually have less clutter, more focus, better perspective, make better decisions. And lastly is absorbing or merging of the mind and the object. So you all know this when you do stuff fun you really like. So a lot of you guys sing, you play instruments, everybody listens to music. And when you do it and you're enjoying it, you kind of get in the groove, you really, time goes by real quickly and you're not aware of yourself or even the music. You're just kind of in the experience of either playing or listening to the music or dancing or artwork or, creative writing or, solving some kind of a problem, a differential diagnosis. You get really involved, and you figure it out and the light bulb goes off. You get absorbed in the sensation or the perception of time is that it goes very quickly. Two types of meditation. One is that focused, got to make sure I'm concentrating here, not fall off the edge, is focused or concentration type of meditation. That's what most of us think about when we think about meditation. It can be on our breath. It can be on an image of an inspirational figure. So for a Buddhist, it might be the Buddha, a mental image. For Islamic people, it might be Muhammad. For Jewish people, it might be Moses, I don't know. Christian people, Jesus Christ. People that aren't so religious, it might be Albert Einstein. He's my hero. I had a little cutout when I was a kid. Actually, for many years, I had it on my little desk in my room when I was growing up. Albert Einstein on a bicycle at Princeton, Advanced Studies or something at Princeton, where he spent some time. And so he's a real hero of mine. And the mind itself, the last one. I won't talk about that. It's a little difficult. Some of you may be doing it. It's non-referential. You don't stick on anything. Everything's wide open. Your senses, your mind, everything wide open. But you just let everything go. You don't engage. Okay? Anyway, enough for now on that. Second type we call contemplative or sometimes analytical. Actually think about a prescribed topic, such as suffering. Okay? Some of you may think, well, that's pretty boring or that's pretty downer. But what's cool about meditating on your own suffering is you become closer to others. You begin to recognize that we all suffer in pretty much the same ways. Sometimes different emphases, but in the same ways. And so it brings you actually a little closer to people. And when you move on to compassion, then you get even closer to people. And you recognize this common humanity that we all have, this suffering that was talked about beautifully earlier. Dr. Chang, I believe. And then impermanence. Everything's in flux, and even our own lives. And so the more we recognize that flux, pay attention to it, like all the scientists do. They know everything's in flux in their research and in their fields. And we tend to forget that. We tend to think we and our patients and everything and everybody is permanent. It's not changing. In fact, moment to moment. And the last one I'm not going to talk about, we're not who we think we are. Okay? This is kind of an Eastern notion that actually what's going on is appearances to the mind, that there's actually not solid physical people and things out there. Okay? Sound a little weird? Yeah? What about quantum physics? They say the exact same thing. Okay? So that's why a lot of Eastern traditions and quantum physics having discussions for decades, particularly the Dalai Lama, and David Bohm was a close friend, and many other quantum physicists have these ongoing dialogues, because the view of reality, what's real, what's not real, is quite close. This was me a few years ago, University of Wisconsin-Madison. Richie Davidson and his group were studying long-term meditators. You had to have 10,000 hours minimum to get into this study, and some people had 50, 60,000 hours. About 11, 12 of us were admitted in the study. And they asked the question, are the brains of these people same or different from others? And this functional fMRI, I'm coming out of the machine after about 2.5 hours. This was not a smile for the camera. I actually felt very happy, because most of the time in the scanner I was told to meditate, even though it's very noisy. Yeah, but still it was kind of because I'm flying around the world so much. I do 2 or 3 hours a day of my meditation, but it's rushed usually because I'm so busy. But here I got to just, kick back and meditate. So the prefrontal cortex, you all know that, and it's the executive control center for such cognitive functions as planning, reasoning, imagination. You all know this. Creativity, a sense of self but not identity. It's pro-social behavior and compassion. It's not unique, but it's one of the main places in the brain. The PFC anatomically is bigger in long-term meditators. Also, it's functionally more active. Okay? And so presumably these qualities in long-term meditators are enhanced. Whoops. They also did electroencephalography. And what they found was during the time we were told to meditate, the long-term meditators, bursts of gamma waves. Some of you have heard about this. These are actual tracings, EEG tracings. And these are the bursts of high amplitude, high frequency. So they're big on the graph. They're coming quick. They're short. And these are bursts that happen throughout the cortex during meditation, only in the long-term meditators. The high amplitude of and they're called gamma waves, of course, right? The high amplitude of the gamma oscillations reflects the number of nerve cells, neural populations, firing in sync. The synchrony of the oscillations reflects the large-scale coordination of neural networks across the cortex. I'm sure some of you, I know you're family docs, I'm a family doc, but some of us have an interest in neurology. You're probably shaking your heads, it's not what I learned. Amy, Altruism in Medicine Institute, one of our board members, is a very high-profile and incredible neurologist working a lot with Alzheimer's research in Phoenix at Banner Institute. He says, I don't believe it. Okay? So this is new stuff. So when they first saw these bursts of gamma waves, the researchers said, uh-oh, our guys and women are seizing, having convulsions. Well, there were no tonic-clonic movements, obviously. Then they thought temporal lobe epilepsy, ruled that out. Then they thought these are artifacts from muscle, that they're intense, these meditators are intense, and they're clenching their jaw or their scalp muscles. They did a lot of work to rule that out. And now they believe it's real and that this is some sort of synchrony. And this has been published in PNAS, Nature, Science, the best peer-reviewed journals. So they're still trying to figure out exactly what it means, but now they're left with synchrony. And this is the exact experience of the meditator. Everything feels in sync. Got to move along and finish this. Whoop. So helps us to soar to be in this state. Okay. And this is flourishing beyond getting normal, absence of disease. Give you a couple real quick studies and I'm done. So this is the Trier social stress test. I can't even say it. Okay, they put a mic in front of your mouth and say, talk to 800 people. Okay, and they did some compassion training here for about 6 weeks, and this control group got health education. Okay, and what they found was IL-6, interleukin-6, which is a complicated system, but basically it's inversely related to the health of the immune system. The more you meditated, the lower the interleukin-6, healthier immune system with more meditation. They also found with serum cortisol levels that the compassion meditation group, 6 weeks, for about 30 minutes after they were stressed, had reduced statistical significance in reduction in cortisol levels, less stress with meditation. Compassion. I have a couple things I want to mention to you. First one is I have a Facebook site. It doesn't look like I'm a Tibetan Buddhist monk, but I do. It's not a chatting thing, you know, it's a public figure. So every other day I'm posting stuff like we're talking about tonight. So please join. Please go look at it. If you like it and you like the page, you'll get the post automatically. It's also a way to message. I answer all the appropriate messages, okay? I mean, we have over 120,000 people on that, so they're not all appropriate messages, but generally they are, and I answer them, okay? Secondly is what we've talked about is the Altruism and Medicine Institute. Our mission is to enhance compassion in healthcare. I've set it up about 3 years ago, have a group of great volunteers. We're working in a lot of different healthcare facilities, medical schools. We're developing a curriculum. And we've developed this for you called the Healing Zone. It's for the Family Medicine Education Consortium people. And what it is a bunch of things you can go into to help you try to actualize some of the things we're talking about tonight. So I encourage you to go to the website, altruismmedicine.org, and particularly to the Healing Zone. I'm starting to lose my voice in just about 30 minutes, so I think Larry's going to be happy with me. I want to thank very much Larry Bauer, Dr. Amy, and all of the people here at FMEC for inviting me, and I look forward to more collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.